The council ridiculed Earth's silence, but humanity's answer shook the stars. The great crystal hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with 1,000 different voices. Alien beings from across the galaxy sat in their assigned seats, their forms ranging from towering insect-like creatures to floating clouds of gas that somehow thought and spoke. At the center of this massive chamber, Ambassador Zethkar stood on the speaking platform. His reptilian skin gleamed under the artificial suns that lit the hall. "Fellow council members," Zethkar began. His voice automatically translated into hundreds of languages and thought patterns. "We meet today to discuss the problem of Earth. For 300 years we have watched this small planet. For 300 years we have tried to make contact with the humans who live there. And for 300 years they have ignored us completely." A wave of clicking sounds came from the Vorthax section. These tall, thin aliens with multiple arms found the situation very funny. Their clicking was their way of laughing. Near them, the luminari began to glow with colors that meant they were amused. These beings looked like living light and changed colors to show their emotions. "Perhaps the humans are simply too stupid to understand us," suggested Counselor Thys. She spoke from a tank of blue liquid that kept her fish-like body alive in the chamber's atmosphere. Bubbles rose around her as she talked. "Many primitive species cannot grasp the concept of advanced civilizations." The other council members made sounds of agreement. Some hummed, others whistled, and a few just glowed brighter. They had all tried to contact Earth at some point. Every young council member was dared to try speaking to the humans as a test of their skills. It always failed. The humans never responded to their messages. They acted like the alien ships visiting their planet were just natural phenomena. What made it even more amusing to the council was how primitive the humans appeared. Their technology was laughably simple. They still burned fossil fuels for energy. They had barely managed to land on their own moon a few times. Their fastest spaceships would take thousands of years to reach even the nearest star. They fought wars over basic resources like water and land. To the council, humans looked like children playing with fire. "I propose we simply stop trying," said Ambassador Kelleth of the Silicon Collective. His rock-like body shifted as he spoke, small crystals growing and shrinking on his surface. "They are clearly not ready for galactic civilization. Perhaps in another 1,000 years they might develop enough intelligence to notice us." More agreement sounds filled the chamber. The council had better things to do than waste time on a species that couldn't even acknowledge their existence. There were trade routes to manage, disputes between member species to settle, and new worlds to explore. Earth was just a curiosity now, a joke to tell at diplomatic gatherings. But far below the surface of Earth, in a facility carved deep into the Rocky Mountains, the truth was very different. Director Sarah Chen sat in a chair facing dozens of screens that showed alien ships, alien technology, and alien conversations. Around her, hundreds of humans worked at computers and control panels. These were not ordinary people. They were the smartest scientists, engineers, and strategists that humanity had ever produced. "Are they still talking about us?" asked Dr. James Wright as he approached Chen's chair. He was the head of the technology division, the group responsible for studying everything the aliens left behind. "Of course they are," Chen replied without taking her eyes off the screens. "They think we're too stupid to notice them. That's exactly what we want them to think." The facility around them was called Site Prime, and it was one of dozens hidden across Earth. For 50 years, humans had been collecting alien technology. Every time a council ship visited Earth, it left traces behind. Energy signatures, material fragments, even complete devices that careless alien visitors had dropped or forgotten. Human scientists had studied every piece, learning how alien technology worked, understanding the principles behind their advanced science. "How goes the Aurora project?" Chen asked. Wright's face lit up with excitement. "Better than we hoped. We've successfully recreated their jump drive technology, not just copied it, but improved it. Our version is 20% more efficient than theirs and completely undetectable by their sensors." Chen nodded. This was exactly what she wanted to hear. The Aurora project was humanity's secret weapon development program. While the aliens saw primitive humans burning coal and oil, human engineers were building spacecraft that used alien technology principles, but they were careful to build them underground, in facilities that the alien sensors couldn't penetrate. "What about the Erebus initiative?" Chen asked. "Also progressing well," Wright replied. "We've weaponized 17 different pieces of alien technology. Things they use for construction or mining, we've turned into weapons, their own tools, used against them in ways they never imagined. But the most important project was one that even many humans didn't know about. The Cassandra Protocol was a network of tiny spy devices that humans had been secretly placing on alien ships and stations for decades. Every time an alien vessel came near Earth, it left with a few microscopic human devices attached to its hull. These devices were so small and so advanced that the aliens never detected them. Through these hidden spies, humans had learned everything about the Galactic Council. They knew where every important alien world was located. They knew the layout of alien military bases, the schedules of alien patrols, and the weaknesses of alien defenses. Most importantly, they knew that the aliens had grown lazy and careless after centuries of being the strongest power in the galaxy. Director Chen called out Lieutenant Maria Santos from her communication station. "We're receiving another attempt at contact from the Council ship in orbit." Chen smiled. The alien ship had been circling Earth for 3 days, broadcasting the same simple mathematical messages over and over. The alien captain probably thought he was being very patient and helpful, trying to teach the primitive humans basic concepts. "Ignore it," Chen ordered. "Let them think we don't understand." This was the hardest part of the plan. Every human involved in the secret projects wanted to respond to the aliens, to show them that humans were not as primitive as they appeared. But Chen knew that surprise was their greatest advantage. The longer the aliens believed humans were helpless, the more careless they would become. On the screens around her, Chen watched as alien council members continued their debate about Earth. They were deciding whether to simply give up on humanity entirely. Some suggested leaving a few simple tools behind to help humans advance faster. Others wanted to keep studying humans like laboratory animals. None of them suspected that humans had been studying them for decades. None of them knew that every word of their supposedly secret council meetings was being recorded and analyzed by human intelligence teams. None of them realized that the primitive planet they mocked was preparing to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. "How much longer do we wait?" asked Wright. Chen looked at the countdown timer on her main screen. It showed days, hours, minutes, and seconds until something called Aurora launch. The numbers were getting smaller every day. "Soon," she said quietly. "Very soon they'll learn that silence doesn't mean ignorance. And when they do, the entire galaxy will never be the same." Above them, the alien ship completed another orbit of Earth, its crew filing another report about humanity's lack of response to their contact attempts. The report would make the council members laugh again, but it would be the last time they found Earth amusing. The storm was coming, and humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing for it. The council ridiculed Earth's silence, but humanity's answer shook the stars. 50 years had passed since the Galactic Council first discovered Earth, and the blue planet had become a running joke throughout civilized space. In the gleaming bars of trade stations, alien merchants would bet on how long it would take humans to notice the massive ships orbiting their world. In military academies across the galaxy, young officers were sent to attempt contact with Earth as a training exercise, knowing they would fail, but learning patience in the process. Ambassador Zethkar had made contact attempts with Earth his specialty. Over the decades, he had tried every known method of communication: mathematical sequences, prime numbers, visual patterns, even direct transmission of scientific formulas. The humans never responded. They seemed to live their lives completely unaware that advanced civilizations were watching them from above. "Look at this," Zethkar said to his aide as they reviewed the latest surveillance data from Earth. "They're still fighting wars over petroleum." "Petroleum! When we've been broadcasting clean energy solutions at them for decades." His aide, a young hegemony officer named Vextal, studied the reports with fascination. "Sir, their technology does seem to be advancing faster than our models predicted. These devices they call smartphones are quite sophisticated for a pre-contact species." Zethkar waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Technological development follows predictable patterns. They're simply hitting the expected milestones. Nothing suggests they're capable of faster-than-light travel or energy manipulation. Their most advanced spacecraft barely escaped their own gravity well. What neither of them knew was that every word of their conversation was being recorded by a device no bigger than a grain of sand, attached to the hull of their ship. The device had been placed there during their last visit to Earth's orbital space. when a human maintenance drone had briefly approached their vessel under the cover of what appeared to be space debris. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that didn't appear on any map, Admiral Rebecca Torres watched the alien conversation on her screen. The underwater base was one of humanity's greatest achievements, a massive complex that had been built in complete secrecy over the past 30 years. From the outside, it looked like nothing more than an underwater mountain. From the inside, it was humanity's primary shipyard and military command center. "They're still completely fooled," Torres said to her tactical officer, Commander David Park. 50 years of careful misdirection, and they still think we're primitives playing with fire. Park nodded as he reviewed status reports from across the hidden facility. The Aurora fleet is approaching completion. All 50 ships are in final testing phases. The Prometheus is ready for her first combat deployment. Torres looked through the transparent aluminum windows of her office at the massive construction bay below. The sight never failed to take her breath away. 50 starships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen were docked in the underground harbor. They didn't look like the bulky practical vessels the aliens used. Human ships were sleek and deadly, designed by minds that had studied every weakness in alien technology. Each ship incorporated design principles from dozens of different alien species, but combined in ways that no single alien civilization had ever attempted. Human engineers had taken the quantum field generators used by the Luminari for manufacturing and turned them into nearly impenetrable shields. They had modified Vorthak mining lasers into weapons that could slice through any known armor. Most importantly, they had improved upon alien jump drive technology, creating engines that could move human ships faster and more quietly than anything in the alien fleet. "What's the status on Project Cassandra?" Torres asked. "Beyond our best hopes," Park replied with a smile. "We now have monitoring devices on every major alien facility within 100 light-years of Earth. Council military bases, government centers, even their private research stations. They've been completely infiltrated and they don't suspect a thing." The Cassandra Protocol had been humanity's greatest intelligence success. For decades, human spy devices had been hitchhiking on alien ships, spreading throughout the galaxy like seeds on the wind. The devices were so small and so advanced that alien sensors couldn't detect them. They powered themselves by absorbing ambient energy and transmitted their data using quantum entanglement principles that the aliens used for simple communication but had never considered for espionage. Through these hidden watchers, humans had learned everything about the Galactic Council. They knew the location of every alien world, the strength of every military force, and the details of every political alliance. More importantly, they had learned that the aliens had grown comfortable and lazy after centuries of unchallenged power. "Dr. Wright wants to see you," Park said. "He says it's about the new weapon systems." Torres made her way through the facility's corridors to the research section. The underwater base was a marvel of engineering, with sections dedicated to different aspects of humanity's secret war preparation. There were laboratories where scientists worked to understand alien biology and psychology. There were factories where human workers built components for the hidden fleet. There were training centers where soldiers learned to fight using alien tactics turned against their creators. Dr. James Wright was waiting for her in the main research bay, standing before a holographic display that showed the internal structure of an alien battleship. The display rotated slowly, revealing details that no alien would ever expect an outsider to know. "Admiral, we've made a breakthrough," Wright said excitedly. "Remember how the aliens use quantum field manipulation for their shields? We found a way to turn those same fields into weapons. Instead of protecting their ships, we can make their own shield generators tear their vessels apart from the inside." Torres studied the display carefully. "How many alien ships are vulnerable to this?" "All of them," Wright replied. "Every ship in the Council fleet uses the same basic shield technology. They've never needed to protect against this kind of attack because no one has ever understood their systems well enough to weaponize them. This was the key to humanity's strategy. The aliens saw a primitive species that couldn't even detect their presence. What they didn't realize was that humans had been studying them with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Every piece of alien technology that humanity could acquire had been taken apart, analyzed and understood not just in terms of how it worked, but how it could be turned into a weapon. "There's something else," Wright continued. "The Council is planning to attempt direct contact again. Ambassador Zethkar has convinced them to try a new approach. Instead of just broadcasting at us, they want to land a small team on Earth's surface. Torres felt a chill run down her spine. When? 6 months. They're hoping that face-to-face contact will finally get a response from us. This could be a disaster for humanity's plans. If aliens landed on Earth openly, it would be impossible to maintain the illusion that humans were unaware of their existence. The secret facilities could be discovered. The Aurora fleet could be detected before it was ready for deployment. Can we stop them without revealing ourselves? Torres asked. Wright nodded. We've been preparing for this possibility. We can make their landing attempt fail in ways that look completely natural. Equipment malfunctions, navigation errors, communication breakdowns. They'll think they're just having bad luck. Do it, Torres ordered. We need more time. The fleet isn't ready and neither are our ground forces. As Wright hurried away to implement the sabotage plans, Torres returned to her office and looked out at the Aurora fleet again. Each ship represented years of work by thousands of humans who had dedicated their lives to this moment. Scientists who had spent decades studying alien technology, engineers who had designed weapons that could challenge the greatest military force in the galaxy, soldiers who had trained for a war that most of humanity didn't even know was coming. In 6 months, the aliens would try to land on Earth. They would fail, but their failure would buy humanity the time it needed to complete its preparations. After that, the galaxy would learn that Earth's silence had not been a sign of ignorance or weakness. It had been the quiet before the storm. Above the underwater facility, alien ships continued their lazy patrols of Earth's orbital space, their crews confident that they were watching over a world of primitive beings who couldn't even imagine the existence of galactic civilization. They had no idea that far below the ocean's surface, humanity was putting the finishing touches on a fleet that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Council ridiculed Earth's silence, but humanity's answer shook the stars. The laughter in the Galactic Council chamber was louder than it had been in years. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the central podium, holding a data tablet that displayed humanity's latest attempt at communication. After 3 centuries of silence, Earth had finally sent a message to the stars. Honored colleagues, Zethkar announced, barely containing his amusement. The humans have at last acknowledged our existence. They have transmitted what appears to be a mathematical sequence directed toward the galactic core. The display screens around the chamber showed the message that had been received 6 months earlier. It was a simple pattern of prime numbers, followed by basic mathematical operations. To the Council, it looked like the first fumbling attempt of a primitive species to prove their intelligence to the cosmos. Councillor Thiss bubbled with laughter in her aquatic tank. How adorable. They're trying to show us they can count. What should we do, send them addition tables in return? Perhaps we should be more generous, suggested Ambassador Kelleth, his crystalline body shifting colors with amusement. They've taken their first step toward galactic awareness. Shouldn't we encourage them? The Council's xenobiologist had been studying the transmission for months. Their analysis concluded that humans had somehow stumbled upon the basic principles of faster-than-light communication, but their understanding was clearly limited. The message itself was crude and inefficient, wasting enormous amounts of energy to transmit very simple information. I propose we respond with a gesture of goodwill, Zethkar said, something simple enough for their primitive minds to understand, but useful enough to help them advance more quickly. The debate that followed was brief. The Council members enjoyed the idea of playing teacher to a species they had long considered hopelessly backward. They would send humanity a basic matter converter design, simple enough for human scientists to understand, but advanced enough to revolutionize their technology. It will be amusing to watch them fumble with real science, chuckled one of the Vorthak delegates, their insect-like mandibles clicking with mirth. What the Council didn't know was that the transmission from Earth had been carefully crafted to appear exactly as primitive as they expected. In the hidden facilities beneath Earth's surface, human psychologists and linguists had spent years developing communication strategies that would provoke specific responses from alien minds. Director Sarah Chen watched the Council's debate from her command center, a slight smile on her face. Perfect, she said to her assembled staff. They're taking the bait exactly as predicted. Dr. James Wright looked up from his analysis station. The matter converter design they're planning to send us is actually quite sophisticated. It will save us decades of research time. That's the point, Chen replied. We need them to give us something valuable enough to justify the next phase of the plan, but not so advanced that they become suspicious when we improve upon it. The human message had been the opening move in a carefully orchestrated strategy. For the past year, human intelligence had been analyzing alien psychology and decision-making patterns. They had learned that the Council species, despite their advanced technology, were surprisingly predictable in their reactions to new civilizations. They always followed the same pattern: initial contact, primitive response, technological gift, period of observation. "How long until they send their response?" asked Admiral Torres, who had been transferred from the underwater facility to Earth's primary command center for this critical phase. 3 days, Wright replied. "And then we implement radio silence protocol." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Humanity would receive the alien technological gift, then immediately cease all external communications and energy emissions. To alien sensors, it would appear that humans had either destroyed themselves trying to use the advanced technology, or had simply lost interest in galactic communication. What would actually happen was that humanity would enter the final phase of preparation for Operation Aurora. 3 days later, the alien response arrived exactly as predicted. The matter converter design was transmitted directly to the primitive radio telescopes that humanity had left exposed for alien detection. To the Council, it appeared that they were generously sharing basic technology with a grateful primitive species. The humans received the transmission, analyzed it completely, and then vanished. Every radio telescope went silent. Every satellite stopped transmitting. Every space probe ceased sending data. From the aliens' perspective, Earth had simply gone dark. In the Council chamber, the sudden silence from Earth caused considerable confusion. Emergency sessions were called as monitoring stations across the galaxy reported the same thing. No detectable technological activity from the Sol system. "What happened to them?" demanded Counselor Thiss, her usual amusement replaced by concern. Ambassador Zethkar reviewed the monitoring data with growing worry. "Their energy signatures dropped to baseline biological levels 12 hours after receiving our transmission. Either they've experienced a complete technological collapse or they've destroyed themselves," finished Ambassador Kelleth grimly. "It's happened before. Primitive species often can't handle advanced technology safely. The Council had seen this pattern with other young civilizations. A species would receive alien technology, attempt to replicate it without proper understanding, and accidentally trigger catastrophic failures that set their civilization back by centuries. It was always tragic, but not uncommon. Should we investigate?" asked one of the younger Council members. "No," Zethkar decided after consulting with the senior ambassadors. "If they've damaged their civilization attempting to use our gift, our presence might make things worse. We'll monitor from a distance and wait to see if they recover." What the aliens couldn't detect was the massive construction effort taking place in hidden facilities across Earth and throughout the Sol system. The matter converter technology they had provided was being used to build components for the Aurora fleet at unprecedented speed. Human engineers had not only replicated the alien design, but had improved it dramatically, creating matter converters that were smaller, more efficient, and completely undetectable by alien sensors. In the underwater shipyard beneath the Pacific, Admiral Torres watched as the final components were installed on the flagship Prometheus. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, incorporating stolen alien technology but designed according to principles that no alien civilization had ever considered. "All systems are online," reported Commander Park. "The quantum drives are functioning within normal parameters. The shields are holding steady, and weapon systems are ready for deployment." Torres nodded as she reviewed the tactical displays. The Aurora fleet now consisted of 50 fully operational warships, each one capable of challenging an entire alien battle group. But more importantly, they were invisible to alien detection methods and could strike without warning. "What's the status of Operation Cassandra?" Torres asked. "Complete infiltration of all target systems," Park replied. "We have monitoring devices in place at every major Council facility. Military bases, government centers, communication hubs, even their primary research installations. When we strike, we'll know exactly where to hit them." The 2 years of silence had allowed humanity to complete its preparations without interference. While the aliens assumed that humans had destroyed themselves with technology beyond their understanding, human forces had been positioning themselves throughout the galaxy. Tiny stealth ships had delivered spy devices and sabotage equipment to strategic locations. Human infiltration teams had studied alien defenses and identified critical vulnerabilities. Most importantly, humanity had learned that the Galactic Council's greatest weakness was their own success. After centuries of unchallenged dominance, they had grown complacent. Their defenses were designed to repel conventional attacks from known technologies. They had never prepared for an enemy that understood their systems better than they did themselves. Director, Chen is requesting final authorization for Operation Aurora, Commander Park reported. Torres looked out at the fleet one last time. 50 ships that represented the combined effort of humanity's greatest minds. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who understood that they might not survive the coming battle, but who believed that their sacrifice could free the galaxy from the Council's oppressive rule. Tell Director Chen that Aurora is authorized, Torres said quietly. It's time to remind the galaxy that silence doesn't mean weakness. In hidden bases across Earth and throughout the Sol system, human forces began their final preparations. The Council had laughed at Earth's silence for 3 centuries. Soon they would learn that humanity's first words to the galaxy would not be a greeting. They would be a declaration of war. The Council ridiculed Earth's silence, but humanity's answer shook the stars. The attack began at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time, across 17 different star systems simultaneously. In the depths of space, reality seemed to tear open as human ships materialized from quantum fold space with a precision that made alien jump drives look like clumsy stumbling. The Aurora fleet had arrived, and with it, the end of an age. On the bridge of the flagship Prometheus, Admiral Rebecca Torres watched her tactical displays light up with target data. Each screen showed a different alien military installation, each one chosen for maximum strategic impact. The operation had been planned down to the second, with every human ship knowing exactly where to strike and when. All ships report ready status, announced Commander Park from his tactical station. Quantum drives are stable, weapon systems are armed, and all targets have been acquired. Torres took a deep breath. After decades of preparation, years of hiding, and months of final planning, the moment had finally come. Execute Operation Aurora, she commanded. Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. The first target was the hegemony's fortress world of Qatar Prime, considered the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. For 1,000 years, its massive orbital defense platforms had never been challenged. Energy shields that could deflect planet-killing weapons surrounded the entire system. Automated weapon satellites filled the space between the planets like a deadly constellation. The human assault group materialized just outside the defense perimeter, led by the destroyer Defiance, Captain Maria Santos, formerly a lieutenant in Earth's hidden command structure, now commanded humanity's most advanced warship as it faced the galaxy's strongest defenses. Weapons free, Santos ordered. Target the primary shield generators. The Defiance opened fire with weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. Instead of the energy beams or particle weapons that aliens used, human ships fired projectiles that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. The quantum phase torpedoes passed through the alien shields as if they weren't there, striking the generator stations directly. The explosions that followed were visible across the entire system. One by one, the shield generators that had protected Qatar Prime for centuries winked out of existence. The fortress world that had never known fear suddenly found itself naked before an enemy that fought like they understood every secret of alien technology. Impossible, breathed the hegemony admiral, in charge of Qatar Prime's defenses as he watched his impregnable shields collapse. No known weapon can penetrate quantum field barriers. His tactical officer, a young hegemony officer named Kextar, stared at his instruments in disbelief. Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the attacking ships, but their design configuration doesn't match any known technology. Who are these attackers? The admiral was about to respond when his communication system activated itself. Every screen in the command center displayed the same image. A human woman in a black military uniform, standing on what was clearly the bridge of an alien vessel. Attention, hegemony forces, the woman said in perfect galactic standard. I am Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Terran Solar Defense Corps. You are ordered to surrender your weapons and stand down immediately. Any attempt to resist will be met with overwhelming force. The hegemony admiral's scaled face twisted with confusion and rage. Terran? What is Terran? No such species exists in Council records. His answer came in the form of another wave of impossible weapons fire. The orbital platforms that had protected Qatar Prime began exploding in sequence. Their own power cores turned against them by weapons that seemed to understand exactly how alien technology worked. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. The Vorthak home fleet, pride of the Council's military might, found itself under attack by ships that moved faster than their sensors could track. The crystalline cities of the Silicon Collective watched in horror as their planetary defenses were neutralized by weapons that turned their own defensive systems into bombs. In the Council chamber itself, emergency sessions had devolved into complete panic. Ambassadors who had spent centuries discussing trade routes and diplomatic protocols now faced reports of devastation from across their territories. "How many ships are we facing?" demanded Ambassador Zethkar as he reviewed incoming battle reports. "Unknown," replied the Council's military coordinator, a massive creature that resembled a living boulder. The attackers appear to have simultaneous strike capabilities across multiple systems. They're using technology that our sensors cannot properly analyze. Councillor Thess floated in her tank, her aquatic form trembling with fear. "Who are they? What species has this kind of military power? Our intelligence networks show no evidence of any civilization capable of challenging the Council." The answer came when every communication device in the chamber activated simultaneously. The image that appeared showed the same human woman who had spoken to the hegemony forces, but now her message was directed at the Council itself. "Members of the Galactic Council," Admiral Torres said, her voice carrying clearly through the chaos of the emergency session. "I am Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Terran Solar Defense Corps. For 300 years you have observed my species. You have judged us. You have found us wanting. You have made the mistake of assuming that silence means ignorance, that primitive appearance means actual primitiveness." Behind her, holographic displays showed the true scope of the human operation, not just the fleet attacks, but evidence that humanity had established hidden bases throughout Council space, had infiltrated their most secure facilities, had been watching and learning while carefully maintaining the illusion of a backward civilization. "You gave us the gift of matter conversion technology," Torres continued, "believing us too stupid to understand or improve upon it. Allow us to return the favor." The transmission cut to live footage from the battle zones. Human weapons clearly based on Council technology, but evolved far beyond their original design, carved through alien defenses like they were made of paper. Ships that should have taken hours to destroy were eliminated in minutes. Defense systems that had protected worlds for millennia were turned off like light switches. "Terran," whispered Ambassador Zethkar, as the terrible truth began to dawn on him. Terra is the alien name for Earth. They're humans. The revelation hit the Council like a physical blow. The primitive species they had mocked for centuries, the backward civilization they had used as entertainment, had been preparing for war while pretending to be helpless. Every casual visit to Earth, every careless demonstration of alien technology, every private conversation held in what they thought was secure space, had been observed and analyzed by minds that understood the value of patience and misdirection. "But how?" demanded Councillor Thys. "Our monitoring showed no evidence of advanced technology, no faster-than-light capability, no energy manipulation systems, no weapons development." Torres seemed to hear the question, though it had been asked on a closed Council channel. "You monitored the Earth we wanted you to see," she said with a cold smile. "While you watched our primitive cities and fossil fuel plants, we built our real civilization where you couldn't detect it. Underground, underwater, in space, using stealth technology derived from your own careless disposal of materials." The tactical displays behind her showed the full extent of human infiltration. Spy devices on Council vessels, monitoring stations on alien worlds, sabotage equipment planted in critical infrastructure across the galaxy. The humans had not only been watching the Council, they had been preparing to dismantle it. "We do not come as conquerors," Torres continued, her expression growing serious. "We come as liberators. For too long, the Council has maintained order through the threat of superior force, keeping younger species in technological bondage while you grow fat and lazy on the fruits of their labor. That age ends today." Around the galaxy, the message was being received by every species that had ever been denied Council membership. Every civilization that had been kept in technological poverty while the Council hoarded advanced science for themselves. On 1,000 worlds, oppressed peoples looked up at the sky and wondered if freedom was finally within reach. In the Council chamber, the most powerful beings in the galaxy faced a truth they had never imagined possible. The joke species they had mocked for centuries had become their nemesis. The primitive world they had ignored had produced the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen, and the war was just beginning. The Council ridiculed Earth's silence, but humanity's answer shook the stars. 8 months after the first human ships appeared in Council space, the war was over. Historians would later note that it wasn't really a war at all, but rather the systematic dismantling of a galactic civilization that had grown too comfortable with its own power. The Aurora fleet had moved through alien territory like a surgeon's knife, cutting away military installations and government centers while carefully avoiding civilian populations. Final blow came when humanity achieved what the Council had thought impossible. They captured the World Killer intact. The massive weapon had been the foundation of Council power for over a millennium, a space station the size of a small moon, capable of destroying entire planets with a single blast. It had never been successfully challenged. The mere threat of its existence had kept hundreds of species in line for generations. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge of the captured station, watching as human engineers swarmed over the alien technology. Instead of destroying the weapon, they were studying it, learning from it, and most importantly, broadcasting its technical specifications to every oppressed species in the galaxy. "The quantum compression chambers are fascinating," reported Dr. James Wright as he reviewed the analysis data. "They're using controlled singularities to focus energy in ways we never imagined. This could revolutionize not just weapons technology, but power generation for peaceful purposes." Torres nodded, but her attention was focused on the larger implications. With the World Killer's secrets revealed, no single species would ever again be able to dominate the galaxy through superior firepower. The weapon that had enforced the Council's rule was becoming the tool of its liberation. "Admiral," called Commander Park from his communication station, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from the remaining Council fleets. The Vorthak hierarchy, the Silicon Collective, and the Aquatic Deephold have all agreed to ceasefire terms." "What about the hegemony?" Torres asked. "Ambassador Zethkar is requesting personal negotiations. He wants to speak with you directly." Torres had been expecting this. The hegemony had been the Council's military backbone for centuries, and their surrender would effectively end any organized resistance to the new order. "Put him through." The holographic display activated, showing the reptilian alien who had spent decades mocking humanity's silence. Zethkar looked older than Torres remembered, his scales dulled by stress and his posture defeated. "Admiral Torres," he began, his voice heavy with exhaustion, "I come to offer the hegemony's unconditional surrender. We ask only that you show mercy to our civilian populations." Torres studied the alien leader who had once found Earth so amusing. "Your civilians were never our targets, Ambassador. We're not interested in conquest or revenge. We want change." "Change?" Zethkar's head tilted in confusion. "You have defeated us completely. You could enslave our entire civilization if you chose. Why offer anything less than total domination?" It was a question that Torres had answered many times over the past months, as species after species submitted to human forces and expected the harsh treatment that had always followed military defeat in Council space. "Because we learned from watching you. We saw what happens when one species believes itself superior to all others. We saw the stagnation, the fear, the waste of potential. We refused to repeat your mistakes." 3 months later, representatives from over 1,000 species gathered in the rebuilt Council chamber on Earth. The Great Crystal Hall had been expanded and modified to accommodate the massive increase in membership. For the first time in galactic history, species that had been considered too primitive for Council membership sat as equals alongside the former rulers of space. Ambassador Sarah Chen, formerly director of the Prometheus Project, stood at the central podium addressing the new assembly. Around her, beings from across the galaxy listened as she outlined the principles of what historians would later call the Terran Accords. "The old Council promised peace through strength," Chen said. Her words translated into over 1,000 languages and thought patterns. What it delivered was peace through fear. Today we offer something different: growth through cooperation, advancement through shared knowledge, protection through mutual defense. In the audience, former Counselor Thys raised one of her aquatic appendages to request permission to speak. Chen nodded, and the fish-like being's voice bubbled through the translation system. "Honored Ambassador Chen," Thys said, "you could have enslaved us all. Your weapons proved our helplessness. Your technology demonstrated our ignorance. Yet you offer partnership instead of domination. This defies everything we know about galactic politics. Why do you do this?" Chen smiled, thinking of the generations of humans who had worked in secret, planning not just for victory but for what would come after. "Because we had time to think about it. While you believed we were primitive, we were watching you, learning from your successes and your failures. We saw civilization stagnate under council rule. We saw scientific advancement slow, because only approved species were allowed to contribute. We saw the galaxy's potential being wasted because one group of species thought they knew better than everyone else." Behind her, holographic displays showed the first wave of new initiatives already underway. Joint research stations where scientists from dozens of species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Shipyards producing vessels designed through collaborative effort, rather than single-species development. Most importantly, exploration fleets heading toward the galactic rim, carrying representatives from hundreds of different civilizations. "The universe is vast," Chen continued. "There are mysteries out there that will require all of our combined knowledge to solve. New civilizations to meet, new challenges to face, new possibilities to explore. The old council wasted 1,000 years maintaining the status quo. We propose to spend the next 1,000 years growing together." Dr. Wright, now serving as the head of the new Galactic Research Consortium, approached the podium with a data tablet. "Ambassador, we're receiving the first reports from the deep space exploration missions. The joint human Vorthak expedition has discovered evidence of ancient ruins in the Andromeda approach. The Luminary Silicon Collective team has found signs of a previously unknown energy phenomenon in the galactic core region." The chamber buzzed with excitement as the news spread. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was looking outward instead of inward, focusing on discovery rather than control. Former Ambassador Zethkar, now representing the hegemony in the new assembly, stood to address the chamber. "I speak for many of the former council species when I say that we owe humanity a debt we can never repay. You gave us something we had forgotten how to value: hope for the future." As the session continued, quantum communications relayed the proceedings to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Children who had grown up believing the council was eternal watched as their parents voted on laws that would govern a new kind of interstellar civilization. Scientists who had spent their careers working within narrow, species-specific limitations now found themselves collaborating with minds that thought in completely different ways. And in the depths of space, human exploration ships pushed toward the galactic rim and beyond, carrying with them representatives from hundreds of different species, all working together to answer the question that had driven humanity to the stars in the first place. What else was out there, waiting to be discovered? Admiral Torres, now serving as the head of the new Galactic Defense Force, stood at the observation deck of the rebuilt station that had once been the World Killer. The weapon itself had been dismantled, its destructive power converted into a massive research facility where scientists from across the galaxy worked to unlock the mysteries of the universe. "Do you think it will last?" asked Commander Park, who had been promoted to serve as her second-in-command. Torres looked out at the stars, thinking of the long journey that had brought humanity from a mocked and ignored species to the reluctant leaders of galactic civilization. "It will last as long as we remember why we did this. The moment we start believing we're superior to others, the moment we stop listening to new voices and new ideas, we'll become what the council was, and then someone else will have to rise up to stop us." But for now, the galaxy was at peace. Not the peace of fear that the council had maintained, but the peace of hope that came from working together toward common goals. The stars that had once echoed with the laughter of aliens mocking Earth's silence now carried the voices of 1,000 species working together to build something better. Humanity had finally spoken to the galaxy, and the galaxy had learned to listen.